Today, I even read, in fact, I think I have it popped up here someplace. Trump talking about Ukraine, Russia, quoted in a story. Here it is.
He's hard to pin down on this
Yes.
war. Very
Yep.
hard to pin down.
I'll tell you why I think that is. Um,
Yeah. What's your take on it?
I think that he's a very savvy politician, even though
Indeed.
he says he's not a politician.
He is now.
Yeah. Um, so he will say things that he knows he has to say to keep the American public on side. He's aware of certain topics like Ukraine where he has to denounce Russia. He has to be against Russia in order to keep the people on his side. But he doesn't really want to be at war with Russia. He'll talk tough against Russia, but he really wants to keep the peace. It doesn't mean he's pro-Russian. It means he's pro-American. He doesn't want to send young Americans into war to die. He's a peace-loving president, right? Was.
He kept the
But
peace.
yeah, he wants to keep the peace. But
Mhm.
in order to keep the peace, he has to retain power. In order to retain power, there are certain subjects where you have to talk tough so that the optics fall in line with what the American public, because of the way they're conditioned by the media, what he knows they expect from a president. You have to take a hard line on Russia, otherwise you can't be the president.
Pretty
Because
much.
for decades and decades, there's been this anti-Russian messaging that is just woven into the fabric of society, right?
Yeah.
That's the way people are conditioned. Russia is the enemy, therefore the president must be against Russia. If you say anything pro-Russian, you're a Russian stooge, a Russian operative, a Russian propagandist. You certainly can't be the president.
Well, they clobbered Trump with Russia for 4 years.
Right.
Russia, Russia, Russia. They just
Yeah.
clobbered him with this subject. So, during the campaign and at the beginning of his term, he was saying that he wanted to have friendly relations with Russia. He wanted to improve the relationship
Yeah.
between our nations, and Putin was open to that as well.
Yeah.
But, Putin expressed skepticism that would actually happen right after Trump was elected. Putin was asked in an interview, do you think that you and President Trump are going to be buddy-buddy? And he gave a very calculated, thoughtful answer to that. And he said, even if Trump wanted to do that, his own deep state is clearly not going to let him have good relations with Russia. And indeed,
Yeah.
he was right. That's exactly how it played out. And, Trump was impeached over this, the, the Ukraine phone call, the first
Yeah.
impeachment.
Yeah.
They let him know what the rules of the game were, and he'd better play by them. And he did. And he armed Ukraine. He sent funding to Ukraine under intense pressure, way more funding than we'd ever sent before, which kind of laid the groundwork for where we are today.
Yeah.
Now Biden's just spending a hell of a lot more money than Trump ever did, but he was sending a lot of arms and a lot of money to Ukraine himself. And at the beginning of this war, when it started, Trump condemned Putin and praised Zelensky. Now he's kind of backing off of that. He's got his finger in the wind, figuring out which way the wind is blowing, and trying to, change his message accordingly, like a politician.
Yeah. So Trump speaking at CPAC in Dallas. So this is a quote in this article, and a couple of things about it just I think are revealing. He says, "Our country has never been at a worse point. They gave away $85 billion worth of equipment, dead soldiers. You still have Americans over there, probably as hostages, eventually will be hostages. There has never been a time like this." Also went on to claim the U.S. is a nation that allowed Russia to devastate a country, Ukraine, killing hundreds of thousands of people, and it will only get worse. Trump complained that Biden turned the safest border in U.S. history by far into the worst border ever in history. Yeah.
Amen.
Just last month, an illegal alien here in Texas was indicted for the cold blooded murders of 4 elderly women throughout the state, he said, and he's been linked to the deaths of at least 24 people. Then he goes on and he says, commented, I can't say that on
You
this
better not
channel.
say that.
We'll get banned for sure.
Goodbye, YouTube.
He says, America is on the edge of an abyss. Let me just back up here. Can I say any portion of this? Because it might be relevant to my point.
Maybe we could say now our country is being systematically destroyed and everybody knows it.
Right. And I think that plays into what we're seeing in Mar-a-Lago right now. And he says, America is on the edge of an abyss, and our movement is the only force on earth that can save it. We have to seize this opportunity to deal with the radical left, socialists,
and
fascists.
Wow. Kind of surprised he
Fascists.
said that. He used the F word.
Yes.
That's the word everyone's like kind of afraid to say, but he said it.
This is what I've been trying to sort of drive home for a while here on this program. This whole left-right political spectrum thing, I think it's kind of out the window. I don't believe in I just don't subscribe to the socialists are on the left, the communists, and the fascists are on the right. I put them on the same side. You can put them on the left, or you can put them on a circle, or whatever graph you want to put them on, but I put them together because they're both socialists. It's a slightly different kind of socialism, but mostly what defines them is their love of authoritarianism.
Exactly.
And they are they've got an alliance right now to tear down our society. People don't understand what's going on. It's hard for them to recognize it. So a lot of people say, well, it's just the communists. It's just the socialists. No, it's both. You've got these people intermixed. What we're seeing here tonight through these clips that we've been running, we're seeing Nazis in Ukraine. We see right now the government, media in India acknowledging or recognizing that Canada's deputy prime minister, Chrystia Freeland, has ties through her family to Nazi history. She was photographed with Nazis carrying a Nazi banner, a Ukrainian Nazi banner. We've shown you that here. We see in this documentary that after World War II, the West was collaborating with Nazis, thinking of invading Russia at that time. Do you think all of this has just went away after World War II? It was all still there. These fascists have just been operating in the background. They're very, very smart. What do you think the WEF is? Who do you think is involved with that? Klaus Schwab. I mean, if you tried to create a Nazi-like character, could you do any better than Klaus Schwab?
The ultimate Nazi Bond villain.
Right. I mean, the guy is right in your face.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not trying to hide it anymore. It's like
No.
They've been underground for 77 years, and all of a sudden the all clear was given and they're just coming out of their holes everywhere. They were there all along, but now they're just proudly showing you their tattoos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And now what do we have? We have a guy sitting in the White House who I think is compromised.
Absolutely.
In so many ways.
How much more evidence do we need?
Exactly. It's right in your face. And the level of corruption at this point is it's like, I guess it's when you tell something, it's like the lie that what's the right thing that I can compare?
You repeat a lie often enough,
right?
It becomes truth.
Or maybe it's more like this. A statistic is just a number, but when it's something personal or small, people can relate to it. So if you have corruption on a scale of billions of dollars, people, I think, just look at it and go, well, that's so big. It's like, they can't even wrap their head around it. So they don't even think about trying to hold someone accountable. It's just so off the charts, right? It's like, well, they're sending billions of dollars over there and all this weapons and all the money, and who knows what's going on. It's like $500 hammers to the Pentagon. Well, what are you going to do about that? That's just the way it is. So nobody
Yeah.
does anything about it. It's like the statistic that doesn't mean anything to somebody. But if it was just somebody, but if it's just something that happens to an individual, you can personalize it and people can understand it. This is so big that people, they're just getting away with it. It's right out in the open. The money's flowing. It's coming around full circle. They're laundering the cash. It's going into people's bank accounts, probably in Switzerland, where you can't be touched. We're none the wiser because so many people are just, they've got the blinders on and they're not asking any questions. And here we are talking about it. And what are they doing? They're going after probably the one guy who has the ability, the clout, the credibility, the money, the power to actually do something and hold some people accountable. They're going after him because he's the guy who didn't want to go to war. He didn't take us into war in Syria. He could have taken the bait then and didn't do
Mhm.
it when he was first elected. You could see that they were ramping up to go full tilt into a war with Russia in Syria before he was elected. I
That's
think
right.
he stopped it. He stopped it. I think he prevented this war in Ukraine from happening when he was in office. They wanted to go to war there
Yeah.
at that time. He delayed everything. They're pissed at him because
Mhm.
he was the one standing in the way. They Russia, Russia, Russia. No, it was the other way around. And then they're coming after him because of, they went after him because of that phone call with the president of Ukraine, tried to impeach him over that.
The perfect phone call.
Yeah,
I mean, he gave the deep state everything they asked for.
yeah,
He gave Zelensky everything he asked for. He did
uh-huh,
everything right, and then they impeached him anyway,
yeah.
twice.
And now what are they doing? Well, now we're at this point where they're losing the war. It's clear. Some people, I don't know who, because I can't tell you, but it's pretty clear with all that money going wayward and all those arms going into the black market. We know there's some very dirty people. And this guy, he's a big threat. He's not only is he a threat, he's pissed off. He's beyond a threat. That guy gets elected president again. You
Mm,
think he's not going to go for some throats?
look out.
Oh, yeah.
Look out.
So they need to take him out now. And if he gets elected, somebody's going to be exposed. Something's going to happen. I don't think he'll make the same mistakes twice. He's very dangerous to them.
I hope he learned a lesson from being, spanked by the deep state several times
Mhm.
during his first term and betrayed by the deep state several times. He was trying to play ball with them, and look how that all turned out.
And folks, for all our Canadian viewers, we should be asking similar questions in our country. We need to. We absolutely need to. So this stinks. Stinks,
Well, you
stinks,
talk about a
stinks.
civil war. We've been talking civil war for the last few days,
Mhm.
and the possibility, that could happen. I tell you what, if they throw Trump in prison, that's going to be the Fort Sumter shot for the United
Yeah.
States. His supporters, some of them, may just take up arms.
You don't have to go to Ukraine to find corruption, not when it's right in your face at home. This is dangerous because of exactly what you're talking about.